Maybe not. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. My videos are not working, but thank you for joining us on another great Star Wars Day, Radio Rebellion Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon, and joining us today is our friend. It's been a while. It's Arezou Amin. Arezou, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, but as everyone just saw, and I mentioned before we started, StreamYard keeps changing everything, and now my intro didn't want to play. So,
I
yay!
I just noticed I had an inside joke where my
I just
social
saw.
media should be for the last recording I did on StreamYard, and this is not gross. This book is not gross. I just need to find out how to
It's
change
fine.
that.
All right, I'm gonna try this
Just
again.
give
Let
me
me see
one
if this
second.
works. All right, well, you tried that. No, I can't. That's okay. I'll let you change that. I'll put at least my background music a little bit while we.
There we go.
There you go. Oh, that's your social.
Yeah.
Welcome to I mean, and ever after a new episode of Radio Rebellion Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon. Otis not here. He's busy. He'll be back eventually. It doesn't matter. Again, our good friend Arezou Amin is here. Arezou, how are you doing?
I'm doing, as well as can be, but I'm doing good. Yeah.
All right, yes, I mean, we don't need to get into everything that's
No.
happening out in the outside world, but it's been slow with Star Wars news, so we've been taking a couple of weeks off. We're back today to cover. If I have my red shirt, it's because it's a High Republic Day, and we're going to be talking about the final High Republic novel in a couple of minutes. But let me get some things out of the way first. So if you're joining us live today, thanks for being here. Make sure you're watching and subscribing to our show so you don't miss any new shows when they drop. Give us a thumbs up, like, and if you're listening to this later on the replay or watching this later, give us a comment down below. And if you're listening to the other podcast, thank you as always. And if you can give us a rating and review or follow us over there, that's always cool also. But all right, so let's just go ahead. If you guys are ready, I'm not ready. Let's talk Star Wars, and it is Trials of the Jedi, the final High Republic novel. Not the end to the High Republic. There's still some comic books out there and all this stuff coming, but at least the main, I guess, the main story, or
Yeah.
like I mentioned, the adult novel and all the other publishing side when it comes to the YA, and I think most of the middle grade are coming to an end now. But Trials of the Jedi by Charles Soule drop when I think at the beginning
The
of
17th.
June,
The 17th.
June 17th.
Yeah.
So almost a month away, 3 weeks away. So hopefully everyone's been caught up. This is going to be a spoiler review, and we're going to try to make it through because a lot of emotions in this book. Also, last time you were
Yes.
here, I think we talked about Temptations of the Force, and now we're
Yeah.
here with Trials of the Jedi. So just as what were your initial thoughts of, I guess, as you were coming into this book, which had a lot of ground to cover
Hmm.
and a lot of, I know Charles Soule's kind of had a lot built up against him for this book to fail in terms of everything he needed to kind of bring together. How were your feelings coming into the book, and then after you finished it, kind of, I don't want to say satisfied, but was it a fitting end, I guess, to this story?
Yeah, I think you said it really well. It was a lot of ground to cover
Yeah.
because it's we do have the end of the High Republic Adventures comics. There's a High Republic finale comic
Yeah.
coming, so it's not the end, but it is in a way the
Yeah.
end of that big story. And he had a lot to cover. It almost, not that anybody at Lucasfilm did this, but it almost feels like he was set up to fail
Sure.
just by
Yeah.
the scale of the story.
Hmm.
So given all of that, it was incredibly satisfying. I think the important thing for him to remember here at the end, which he definitely did, was which stories
Yeah.
need to be wrapped up here,
Hmm.
because there's some stuff getting wrapped up in the comics that I think there's like some lip service paid to, but that's not
Hmm.
the story you wrap up in this book. So he really remembered, like, whose story have we been following in this format the whole time, and it really focuses on that mission to Planet
Yeah.
X, which it needed to, I think.
Yeah, it's something that I think you said it perfectly. It's try to what stories are you focusing on? And it was, if I had one critique of the book, not even critique, or we might talk about it later, things that I kind of miss. I hope he kind of touched on a little bit. It's almost impossible to be able to talk about everything that has been put out in the High
Mhm.
Republic and just condense it into one book, unless you do a 1,000-page book and no one's gonna
Right.
be able to finish. But focusing on those main stories, especially the trip to Planet X, and I think the Battle of Eriadu, which we'll touch on a
Mhm.
little bit with the Nile, was the one kind of storyline that I don't want to say weak, but you can feel that okay, this story is being told somewhere else, which is in the
Yeah.
comics. So I was very interested in the main kind of Jedi, Marchion Ro Planet X storyline. That when it kind of went back to that Ariadne with Pika and Josh Adrian, which I love.
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to go back to all this stuff in Planet X, but I understand what it needed to be there.
Yeah.
But by the end of the story, it's I, I can't think of a better way to have wrapped up at least this part than the way that Charles Soule did it. Uh, Cover all the emotions that we love from Star Wars. You're scared for the characters. You're hoping there's going to be some hope at the end of all these 5 years or whatever it's been, but still feel the stakes on it as you're going through and what's going to mean for the future and setting up new stories that can be told afterwards.
Absolutely.
I think he did a great job with everything you said stacked up against him. I think he did a fantastic job kind of delivering on this end to Trials of the Jedi, or the High Republic, I should say.
Stacked against him is a much better way to put it than set up to fail, because then that sounds like Mike Siglain was going, how can I? But no, like Mike
Yeah.
Siglain wouldn't do that. So
I mean, when you think about it, I think coming into this book, I'm like, how the hell are they going to finish all this? Because there's so many stories, and sometimes you can feel when books or movies, TV shows, they kind of build up a lot of things, and then the finale comes and it's rushed, or things are
mhm.
just kind of left open, and then people go crazy. Oh, plot hole here, they didn't cover this. So I had that feeling of dread. Is this going to be able to live up to all the hype? And I think it did. And I am extremely happy
I
with what we got.
I agree. I think I don't know if you ever have this experience with like other books in general where you're
Mhm.
reading it and you're going through it and then you kind of hit the last 50 pages or so and you're like, I don't know how they're going to wrap this
Yeah.
plot up in the
Mhm.
next 50 pages. That's sort of how I felt with every book leading up to Trials, especially in phase 3. I
Mhm.
was like, I don't know how they're going to wrap all this up. And I think they did the best thing they could, which is the whole book is the last 50 pages,
Yeah.
so to speak. Like we know
Yeah.
we kind of know the mission is happening. They set it up, and yeah, it
Mhm.
does have that arc because it's a book on its own. But the whole book
Yeah.
is that climax of the big like fight. So I think the structure worked really
Yeah.
well.
And that's one of the things I love about it is exactly that, because I felt in other books that I'm reading, I'm halfway through the book and I don't know what the main plot is or the main
Hmm.
journey is. And like, okay, there's a lot of setup. I don't know what the story is going to be like. Here by chapter 3, basically, we know, okay, the Jedi going to Planet X to try to deliver the 12 nameless that they have. Marcon is going to meet with Lina So to try to convince her to let him do whatever he wants and save the galaxy. And there's some problem going on Iriado with denial, and Peek and Josh are gonna cause some trouble. Oh, it's only page 50. Okay, I know where the story is going, and then it just goes by while still explaining little tidbits for people that haven't read everything. It wasn't
Right.
an exposition dump, but it kind of told you what some of the things that happened for you to be able to follow the story. So for you, and this is something that everyone that's read the High Republics have been asked. This is how much do people need to read before they jump into X story? Do you feel that there's certain books that people should focus on? Is this something that a Star Wars fan can just pick up and at least enjoy that story, or are there certain I don't know how to. You don't need to read
I
everything, but I think there's certain books or at least stories you need to have a little background on.
Yeah, I think like the phase 1 kind of you were able to sort of jump in wherever and go from
Yeah.
there. I think by this point you need to have, in my opinion at least, read all
Mhm.
of the adult and young adult books.
Okay.
For like, I think if you're looking for the minimum, that's what you need
Mhm.
for this to be satisfying. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll make sense. It's kind of, you could pick it up and go in, and like I said, it has a full arc, so it would
Mhm.
make sense. But if you want the character arcs to resonate at all, then you need to know where they came from and how that setup was. And so many of the things we see
Mhm.
pay off in this book were set up
Yeah.
in phase 1 and 2. So I don't even think you would start with, oh, I forget what it's called. You couldn't start with like Eye of Darkness, even. You would have to
Oh,
start at the beginning, I
yeah. Mhm.
think.
Yeah, I think the main adult novels are almost a mandatory to be able
Oh, yeah.
to. not to enjoy, but to know all the background a while, all the decisions that are being made, especially with our main cast, with Avar and Elsa, and we will drop into them right now. You need to have gone through that full arc with them, especially all the way to Temptation of the Force, to
Mhm.
know where they're at right now. So let's go talk about our favorite
Do it.
Jedis out there, Avar, Chris, and Elsa. Man, I wrote in my review, yes, these are some of my favorite Jedi of all time. Maybe one of my favorite time period in Star Wars. I love, and I don't want to say hate. I don't hate, love and hate. I love and I'm scared for them coming into this book. If you're a High Republic fan, you know people are going to die. We unfortunately lost Stella and Geos at the end of Phase 1, so we're all freaking out. Hair on the back of my neck was standing up every time they were on the page. What's going to happen to our Jedi couple out there? But this relationship that has been set up almost since the beginning, since Light of the Force, again, kind of culminating in Temptation of the Force and then continuing into Light of Trials of the Jedi. I think all the authors, we talked a little bit before we started, every author that worked on this initiative and had to write those two characters and continue the storyline did a great job in making it seem like one actual, let's say just relationship, but that's what it is,
Mhm.
without kind of, okay, this author, Tessa Gratton did it better than Charles Soule or better than X, Y, and Z. Like it felt like a progression for those characters to that point where now they're spending every possible time together. They're still kind of having their thing behind closed doors, but it's something that I'm so happy that they at least got to this point, still being able to keep that relationship going, knowing all the things that we know about Jedi and relationship, and with Elsa Man's kind of dark past.
Mhm.
How are you feeling with these two coming into the book and how their story kind of progress all the way to the end?
So from the beginning, I think so. Yeah, you're right. Like every author who had to write this relationship, really does make it feel like one cohesive
Mhm.
relationship. And I think it had its ups and downs, and like their focuses are different. Like Tessa Gratton
Yeah,
is a lot more focused on the interior
yeah.
romance of it
Mhm.
all, and Charles Soule's focus is elsewhere. But also, Charles Soule is the first one who put the two of them together on the page
Yeah.
in Light of the Jedi, and that's where the shipping started. So there is something on that,
Yeah.
in that, even if the focuses are different. But
Mhm.
as for how it was handled, I think like throughout, I think it's a really good slow burn romance. I
Mhm.
think it was the first time in a long time that um like especially since the High Republic started, where there's this romance that is building, this relationship building, and I didn't feel delusional for thinking it was a
Yeah.
thing, and it's not just me reading too much into it. And
Mhm.
it really was. It's this aspect of people's lives that goes so unaddressed in Star Wars, and I think the fact that this was given the same undercurrent as any of the Jedi stuff,
Mhm.
I think was important, and then in their case really well done.
Yeah. No kiss of gratitude this time. Every
No kiss of
kiss
gratitude.
meant something.
No. That gives us something too, but at least we're not dancing around it
Yeah,
this
yeah.
time.
We don't
We're
need to.
explicitly here to say that love
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Every new version of that scene doesn't need a new explanation to make it make sense. We know what happened. All right, let's say hi to our friend Brennan from Page Turners That Were Not. He says, hello, my friends. I'm two-thirds of the way through the book and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. The High Republic has been a marvelous publishing effort that is beloved by so many fans. You are right, Brennan. And it's not over. Michael Seglain came out to say that there's more stories coming.
It's
So
the
I'm
end
so
of the
happy.
beginning.
The end of the beginning. And this book, and we'll talk a little bit about it at the end, kind of set up a few storylines that might
Mhm.
go out there. So I'm really interested and excited to see where that goes. Um, yeah, I mean that relationship just in general is something that how they're gonna make it work in terms of writing two Jedi having a relationship inside all this chaos. And it made sense, and it didn't took a back seat as we move forward. It was still part of the whole. I guess there's another way to the whole relation, the whole chemistry and everything that they worked together was built around that relationship, and still not even forgetting the other type of relationship they have with Stellan Geos was still
Mhm.
part of them moving forward. Well, then again, for everyone listening to us out there, we're not kind of going in order. We're just kind of just talking about everything that happened and focusing on some of the major things. And I'm just gonna go straight at it when Elzar and Avar are on Planet X. We'll talk about the reveal of the name in a minute. And they run into this vergence in the force, basically, that's in the planet, this kind of force nexus. It's light and dark combined, and they go into it. And then for Ava, who listens to the song of the force, it's complete silence. She doesn't know what's going on. Basically, this manifestation of the dark. But then as the story goes, she kind of is able to tune into the, I guess, the dark part of the song, and kind of the song of the dark, I think, is how she calls it, this balance that's on this force planet. And then that meeting with the actual Nameless and what it meant for them to be taken. Well, I want to talk about that a little bit more later, but just, I guess, like I mentioned before, that High Republic, people die. This is the part that we start feeling, okay, one of these two might have to do the ultimate sacrifice. But again, it's a decision that they make together. Both of them are needed to keep balance in this planet. She'll be the light in the dark, while his dark tendencies will balance the light and create this balance inside it. Kind of similar to this Loki season 2 ending, when he had to stay behind to keep the universe together. But in that story, he had to say goodbye to Sylvie. Here, at least they're together. Maybe not physically, but they could still communicate, and there was something there. Were you okay with that ending? Did it make sense? It was something, they're both alive, they still have that love together, no one had to sacrifice themselves, but they kind of away from everyone else. It's a weird Star Wars thing that still makes sense.
It did. It sort of felt like a best case scenario to me, because it's not, I was talking to a friend about this, and I kind of compared it to Avengers Endgame, which I really enjoy. Let me be clear. I really do like Endgame, but there was no glove to snap. You can't just walk back all of the damage that's been done since the hyperspace disaster, since the Nile started taking the Nameless from Planet X. You can't just undo all of that. So there had to be a really big event. Something had to happen to start to make it into the galaxy we then see, and like the Acolyte and the prequels and all of that. So something was going to happen. And I think the best case scenario isn't this selfless ultimate sacrifice, as you put it, where one person now has to live with the knowledge that they survive while the other is lost or whatever. But instead, it's paying off what's been set up since the beginning, which is how in tune with the light Avar is, and how susceptible to the dark Elzar is, and how his susceptibility to the dark and her almost rigid adherence to the light with no wavering benefit them. And it's not that it is something they need to be in touch with, because this is ultimately together they form that balance. And that's really, that's Star Wars at its core, is darkness rising, light to meet it. It's light and dark together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's something that if it was another Jedi there, maybe Elzar, that quote unquote pull to the dark, would be too much. Or being Avar, that light there to pull him back, or at least keeping in that dark side in check, I think it's the only one that could have helped him not fall all the way through. And I love that this book starts basically with Charles Soule telling us, you might know a little bit about the Force, but we really don't know anything about the Force. Kind of setting up to, hey, there's going to be some weird things I'm going to be introducing. That's the way the Force works. We might have shows and talk about the Force, and this is what the light side means to me and the dark side, and if great Jedi are a thing, but we don't know how the Force works. It's what's best for the story, and look, like you say, it's a best case scenario. But it did, like I mentioned before, it's not a Force thing. They didn't kind of jam it in there to, I gotta finish the book. They just stay together because magic. No, it's a progression of those characters and the story that's been set with what's happening on the planet. And that's one thing that you mentioned. I had no idea. Okay, how they might stop the blight, but planets have died. There's no way to bring those people back. I wasn't the biggest fan of the interlude, but it gives you the stakes on the. going
Yeah.
on in the whole galaxy. There's planets dying and there's families trying to survive. And I don't want to, again, bring it to real world. These are refugees trying to leave a planet that's crumbling because it's being destroyed and there's no way to get out. They might stop the blight from spreading, but there's no way to bring that back. So,
Yeah,
like you said,
that
this is
I found
base
the
case
interlude
scenario.
hard for that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. So, yeah, we stopped it. We're not going to be able to snap our fingers and bring everyone back. All the terrible things happen. But having Avar and Elzar, characters that were introduced in that first book, we've all been waiting for Elzar to fall to the dark side because he's unfortunately kept making bad
Yeah.
decisions. But once he got officially together with Avar, he was able to have someone, like you said, that's unwavering in the light to be able to balance him out a little bit and then use that to balance Planet X. That was a little bit unbalanced, a kind of weird planet out there that we'll keep talking about in a minute.
Yeah.
But do you think we might be able to see them again? Because
Yes.
supposedly this is going to take a couple of decades to fix everything out there, to have enough X back and Nameless hatch. Or are they? I don't remember if it was we'll only need you for a couple of decades and then unfortunately
I thought it was a
they'll
couple of
pass.
centuries, wasn't it?
I don't know, maybe.
I
Was
don't know.
it
It was a long
centuries?
time though.
It was a long time.
I don't think they're. I think it's like they've put them in like the safety deposit box until they need them. They're out of the way of all of the mess of the story.
Yeah.
Because they say that you have to forget this planet is here, and basically the planet becomes then untraceable, but
Yeah.
they're still there. And I assume they're not aging. Because
Yeah.
if they have to be there, yeah, I remember it being longer than a few decades because I'm like, they're going to live past their natural lifespan. So I assume they're not aging.
Okay.
Once it's healed, I'm like, can they just go?
Please?
And then if they do go, when are they coming out? Are they going to pop up in, the New Republic? Do they pop up after the sequel trilogy? Like when do they come back?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've seen the last of them.
No, I just want them back.
Beloved.
Give me a story 200 years in the future.
And like the two of them adjusting to quote unquote present day. That would be so funny.
Just coming out, seeing Kylo Ren bashing stuff because he's angry and like, dude, what's your problem? Just chill. And then
just take it easy. Go hang out with
figure
your
out
friends.
100 years after they went into stasis, the Jedi were lying about the Sith and poor Anakin couldn't have a girlfriend, and then we sacrifice ourselves.
I just want Elzar to come back while Yoda is still alive, and then to find out what happened with Anakin and be like, but you said that I could have a girlfriend. So what
I went to you for love advice.
And you said it was fine. Why was this a problem all of a sudden?
What happened while we were out? All right, let me just say hi to Pepe Saber. Thank you for joining us. We're doing fine. Hopefully you're fine also. But yeah, I just love those two characters so much through the whole 5 years that we've been with them. I hope we get them back at some point in the future. And I'm glad they both survive and are around. And they're able to communicate and have
they just
some sort of relationship.
Touch each other, but
yeah,
they can chat for short periods, as long as they won't get bored.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they don't lose focus too much, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen. It can happen. After a couple centuries, it's hard to keep. Anyway, so on the other side, and I'm sure we'll keep talking about those two in a couple of minutes, but let's talk about the villain in this story, our friend Marchion Ro, the lunatic that he is. Does he hate the Jedi? Does he want to just give them now some place for them to hang out? Does he really want to conquer the Republic and govern it? No, he just wants to kill everyone because he's freaking nuts. And I love him for that. How surprised were you when he's like, you know what? I'm done playing. Like, I just want to kill everyone. I want to be the last one standing. And that brings a smile to my face.
His motivation. So I know I've been speculating from the beginning about what is his motivation and why is he like this? And, what could his ulterior motives possibly be? And I think I've said it here before, but the scariest thing about Marchion Ro is he doesn't know what he wants, or at least
Mhm.
initially, it didn't seem like
Sure.
he knew what he wanted. He just knew that this is what he wanted to do, but he didn't really have a why.
Yeah.
And then you get to this book and you realize his why is just that there is no why.
Mhm.
It's just that he wants to leave a mark, and he wants to be, like you said, the last one standing, because anybody who continues after him can undo the work he's done, and it's not
Mhm.
possible for him to live forever and ensure that his work, quote unquote, continues. Which is also what makes the beginning of the Acolyte so funny, when they're like, after centuries of peace, like they completely forgot about what he did.
Yeah.
So like already it's been 100 years and already people have moved on.
It's when Bale beats him and Elsa kind of misses, it's like, dude, in the end, when everything's said and done, no one's gonna even remember you or something like that. And like,
Yeah,
oh, poor
and
Markion,
they
everything you
don't.
went through, no one's gonna even remember you. And
Like
that's gotta sting.
it really does. And like to jump ahead to his end for a second,
Yeah.
I don't know how long Ever Any live. So I don't know when it is that, because he, gets sentenced to exile
Mhm.
and like unknown parts unknown for until he dies, essentially, with only droids, but we don't know when that is. So I'm like, did you watch all of this stuff happen and just realize that after like the rebuilding kind of happened,
Yeah.
that nobody ever spoke of you again?
Yeah, just a little radio that he can tune in every couple of years. And yeah, your name is never mentioned. But when they say, okay, we're not going to kill him, he's going to be on a weird ship just floating. I don't know, he's going to get out. No, his only friend is a little droid there that is going to kill in a couple of days, anyways. No interaction with anyone. He'll be locked up forever. I'm like, okay, let's hope that's true. I want that guy out. Well, yeah, he just unfortunately died with no one caring about him. But it's like you mentioned, when this started, we had no idea what his motivations were. Where I was focused, like, he doesn't care about the Republic. It's all about the Jedi. The Jedi did something to his family. That's his sole
That's what I
focus
thought.
is the Jedi. And it seemed to be going that way. But then in the last couple of books, when he's like, no, I'm the only choice for the Republic. I'm the only one that can save it. And then this book starting with him, okay, I'm gonna meet with Chancellor, with Lina, so we're gonna talk it out. I have a way to stop the blight. Not really. No one can stop it. He knows it. He's just lying through his teeth. And then once she kind of tells him, no, screw you, I'm doing it my way. And then he kind of, not snapped, but he's like, okay, then I'll do things my way. But I love also, because we all love complicated villains and villains that think that they're the heroes of their story. All that is fine. Sometimes we just need a guy to be bad because he wants to be bad. And I think that's what we got with Marchion. He's not Palpatine level manipulating everything. He's pretty smart. But at the end of the day, he just wants to be. When he destroyed the Gaze Electric and opened the
Yeah, the
occlusion zone
formal.
for the Jedi, it's like, oh, he doesn't care about denial either. It's just, actually, everyone needs to die. And like, he's crazy. And I love him because we needed someone like
He is so messy. He's scary in how
Yeah.
unmotivated he is.
Mhm.
I felt this, I think, since like all of phase 3, when it really became
Yeah.
clear that there's no
It was unhinged.
deep-seated familial pain, there's no
Mhm.
master plan. He doesn't quite know what he wants. He likes the attention, but he never wants
Mhm.
to lose the attention,
Yeah.
I think, is about the extent of it.
Yeah, it was when I started seeing visions of Marchion Ro and all his family. Like, okay, where's that familial thing coming? Like, hey, get out of here! I don't want to see you guys. I
I
just
think
want to.
that's really clever, though, because this whole hatred of the Jedi is like an inherited conflict, because that's Marta's
Yeah.
conflict. That's not his. So
Mhm.
he's inherited this from his family. So I think that's like his jumping off point is the
Yeah.
Jedi. But then, like inherited conflict, when you're 3, 4, 5 generations removed from it, it's not as personal,
Yeah.
because he's just lived his life in a completely different sphere. So that's what kind of got him public attention,
Yeah.
was this whole like family motivation to hate the Jedi. And then he's like, well, I kind of like the attention more than I hate the Jedi.
Yeah.
And that becomes his
Lightsaber
new.
is pretty cool. I'll just keep
Yeah,
using.
like
The more Jedi I kill, the more attention I get. I really don't care about them. But he shows up, and I think it was about halfway through the book, he shows up on Planet X when the Jedi are there, and like, oh crap, this is happening a lot sooner than I thought. Like you mentioned, we're not waiting
Yeah.
for the last 50 pages. It's like, oh no, we still got like 200 pages of this going on. And when you think, okay, here we go, we have 12 nameless, we have a plan. He shows up with 100 nameless, uses the rod of power, and then starts killing each other. Like puts the nameless against each other just to, because he figures out what the Jedi are trying to do. And he just kind of fast forwards the whole thing. Because if those 100 nameless didn't die, then maybe Elzar and Avar didn't need to spend a whole century there trying to fix everything.
Right.
But again, it's slowly kind of showing you how crazy this guy was. I don't know, maybe crazy, not crazy, but I guess unhinged. I'll just use unhinged. I don't know. I just love the guy, how chaotic he was, and that whole scene.
100%.
Even my comparison, not to to Endgame, was when they're trying to get the rod of not the rod of power, the other one, the one they had, rod of ages,
Hmm.
trying to get it from the van basically in Endgame, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, friend Torben Bug didn't make it. We'll talk about him in a minute. But that whole scene that's when I started feeling, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen now. Because our 12 nameless going to be enough to fix the issue? Okay, hopefully. But then as soon as 100 start dying, it's like, okay, I don't know how the Jedi gonna get through this. But it all leads to young Jedi that suffer more than most, Bel Serifar, which I
Speak
remember
up.
when everything started happening with Marchion Ro. We all had our theory who's going to bring him down. Is it going to be Bel? Was one of the big choices. Avar, Elzar. Me and Oti thought it's going to be the power of friendship that's going to bring down everything. And that kind of happens with the Nile and everything that's happening on El Riado. But I guess if it was going to be a Jedi to bring him down, it had to be Bel Serifar, of
Hmm.
course. Another Jedi I was very afraid of, because since Into the Light, a couple of novels before, it's kind of pushing a little bit not to the dark, but having feelings of revenge and vengeance against
Yeah.
Marchion. And I'm glad that, again, this is a storyline that continued throughout those books. And it was a vision of Loden that kind of calmed him down a little bit. Were you okay with Bell being the one to confront
Yeah.
Marchion? I guess no one else should have
No,
done.
no one else would have. I thought it was going to be Renestra just because she's the only one who
Yeah.
had like plot armor. So I thought it was going to be her. But remind me, have you read Wayseeker?
Yes.
Okay, can I talk about Wayseeker in
Yes.
comparison to this? Okay,
Spoil. I already my spoiler review. If you haven't
right.
read
Yes.
Wayseeker, tune out for 5 minutes and come back. But
So what I really liked about the way Belle faced down Marchion is what I really liked about Wayseeker, which is, like ultimately at the end, like Loden is there, Loden is encouraging him, like how in Wayseeker Vernestra has visions of
yeah.
Stellan,
Mm-hmm.
sort of encouraging her. And I like that it's this no one's ever gone thing. It's that their masters are so much a part of them
Yeah.
later in life. And then for Belle specifically in this moment, like Marchion kidnapping Loden and killing Loden the way he did, and Loden being sort of the first major victim of
Mhm.
the Nameless. It's only right that Belle's the
Yeah.
one who brings it all to the end. It really brings it full circle.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it is a little bit revenge, but it's also like justice for Loden and justice for everybody who has fallen in a similar way. And it is most appropriate that the first one affected is the one to end it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, even if it's the obvious answer. But again, I think they did a great job setting up how it was going to go in terms of slowly showing Bale kind of having those tendencies of very emphatically wanting to go after Marchion Ro. Every time people were making plans, oh, we gotta go figure out the blight or figure out the Nameless. It's like, it doesn't matter what we do over there. We gotta stop Marchion because he's the one behind it. And again, Star Wars giving us great pair-ups. If he didn't have Buriaga with him to kind of also calm him down before he got that vision of Loden, having that sidekick, I'll say, with Buriaga was great for Loden. When freaking Marchion almost killed the dog in Ember,
Oh my God.
okay, now you can kill him. I don't care. Go to the dark side and kill that bastard. But
I knew Ember was gonna be okay because I'm like, I feel like they could kill all the Jedi and
Yeah,
people would come back, but if you kill the dog, you've lost everybody.
they were this close because he threw him off a cliff. And Boriaga, I love him. I gotta love that Wookiee. He just went right through it, trying
Yeah.
to save him. But yeah, it made sense to be Bell. It made sense the way that it happened. He had this vision of Loden, and this I call it this kind of I am all the Jedi moment because he kind of
Hmm.
had a vision of all the not a vision, but I guess a feeling or something. He sensed all the Jedi out there that helped him get this extra power to levitate Marchion without going, I don't want to say cheesy way of saying I am all the Jedi or all the Jedi are with me. But I kind of gives you the same impression that all the
Yeah.
fallen Jedi helping because they know that they have to find a way to stop this guy. So I think it was a great way to again show that we don't know everything about the Force. Give Bell the, I guess, satisfaction to bring him down,
Yeah.
and then end up with Loden lightsaber by the end. It's a perfect kind of bow to tie at the end.
I agree. I agree. And I think them being on such a force
Yeah.
strong planet is the best way to do this because if this is such a strong point in the force, then of course Loden is there. And of course the fallen Jedi are with him. And like you said, like the force is what the plot needs it to be.
Yeah.
So having the finale be on this force rich planet where any force possibility is on the table,
Yeah.
it's the only way it could be.
Hmm. Which is why I'm happy I also read is it Eye of the Darkness or Eye of the Storm, the comic book series that
Oh,
talks
Eye
about
of the
when
Storm.
Eye of
Eye
the
of Darkness is
Storm, that you spend a couple of one of the whole comic books. It's on Planet X when they're getting the
Mhm.
Nameless out of there, but it shows you how that planet's kind of reaching the Force. Everything kind of grew back as soon as it got destroyed. Kind of again 3 years earlier, starting to put those seeds there. This is a weird planet, and let's keep going with Planet X, or should I say Sophros, which means the balance. Of course, it means the balance, and the Nameless, which are the Shrikarai, which is part of this lullaby that they've been singing for a while.
Yes.
I love everything that they had to do, everything that they explained here. Some of my favorite things that they done in the whole initiative. I've mentioned 20 times how the Force is my favorite thing about Star Wars, especially when
Hmm.
it gets kind of weird. And this was weird Star Wars Force things. Like the whole planet is, what do they call it? It's a vergence in the Force, a Force nexus. There's this portal or transition point. There's a convergence of light and dark. That's where Elsa and Ava walk through to then reach this inner egg inside of an egg or whatever cave when they meet the Nameless, which are speaking through telepathic messages. It was weird, and I love every single second of it. Did you enjoy all this
I
weirdness?
did.
Of
I
course.
like the freaky force stuff. It's like me. It's my favorite. It's my favorite concept in Star Wars is
Mm.
the freaky force stuff. It's just how do I want to put this? It makes perfect sense to me that something as far-reaching and all-encompassing as the force and something that is so nebulous and hard to pin down origin point doesn't sound right, but has
Yeah.
like a focal point. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like it has this point in the galaxy that keeps the whole thing in check.
Yeah.
Like it's the load bearing planet, if
Hmm.
you will.
Yeah. It's so weird because it's why, yeah, we know that the Nameless and the Blight, like, or the Blight is connected to the Nameless. And then we figure out, yeah, it has to be connected to something that happens years ago. If you read Tears of the Nameless, you understand about the three deities or whatever that took some Nameless out and they
Hmm.
brought them back. So you start figuring things out. We still can't, okay, I don't understand all of it. And it just got weirder and weirder as it went through. Um, it gives us a little bit of flashbacks to Mortis and the way Mortis works, which is another weird force planet. And I love that we have different weird force planet, maybe at
Hmm.
two different edges, like you said. One is a focal point on one end and the other on the other. Who knows? But slowly, kind of revealing everything, and that the Nameless are not. So we all kind of imagine that the Nameless were misunderstood, but not to this extent. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
sentient beings. They're connected to this planet, which is a whole force nexus. It's called the balance, so we have to keep the balance between. Yeah, we have the Nameless kill people, but at the same time, every time one dies, then the planet gives us an egg to kind of keep that cycle going and keep that balance going. And once you mess with that balance, then everything gets messed up.
Right.
I don't know. I can't even talk about it or explain it, but it's just one of those weird things in Star Wars that when you start to kind of realize or think more deep into it, makes sense. And even if you want to go to the Acolyte, I love how they've been for the past couple of years, kind of peppering in all these weird notions of all the divergences,
Hmm.
all the weird Force plan, and that we again, I'll keep going to. We don't really know everything that has to do with the Force, and that's why I sometimes get angry when Star Wars fans complain about, well, we've never seen this in the Force. Why can't this character do it? Well, we never saw uh, Obi-Wan turn into a ghost in A New Hope. We saw it in the other one, and
We never
Force.
saw anyone move anything with the Force until
Yeah.
Empire. That's my
Uh-huh.
favorite example. Like, it's such a part
Mhm.
of the Force to like reach out and have something fly into your hand.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen till Empire
Mhm.
because that's what the story needed.
Luke didn't. I mean, he did one cool Force jump in Empire, but we didn't see them running 100 miles an hour like we did in Phantom Menace. We didn't have Force Seal. So I love that you can, if you're smart enough and it makes sense to the story, just bring in weird concepts into how the Force works. It's the best out there, and this was another great example. We still don't really know how everything works, but again, keeping that balance between the lights, the hunger in it, and then, like we mentioned at the beginning, to be able to counter this, then you need a balance in the Jedi, one that works on the light, one that's closer to the dark, and then just to do a triple on this between Wreath, Tayoric, and Aslin Rel, they needed again a light side user in Wreath, a dark side adept in Aslin Rel, and someone that wasn't neither of those in Tayoric to control the rod to be able to then get the nameless to stop killing each other. So the whole thing about needing all three
Yeah.
kind of goes through the whole book. And again, we mentioned before Charles Soule was kind of stacks against him, but the way he was able to bring everything together, plus adding more weirdness into Star Wars, can't thank him enough.
I love that Ty Yorick plays such a big part
Oh
in the
yeah,
end of this because I think my initial impression of Ty had been that this is a former Jedi character that they've created so that they can tell these like kind of freakier
yeah,
outer planet bounty hunter stories, and then we'll have a touch point. If the characters need to go to those places, then we'll have Ty, and it's a character we know. So for her to play such an instrumental role in the finale, and yeah, because it's not just like you said, like the light side users and the dark side users, it's the Force users, it's
yeah,
all of the Force users, because that's such an important part of phase 2.
Mhm.
And then that kind of really comes home in this trio.
yeah. And it's what I had something. Oh, oh. So yeah, I've always loved Ty Yorick. I love the Monster Hunter comic book. I love again. She almost killed Elzar Man in the Rising Storm. She tried stabbing him through the heart, and now she's here helping. And I love that they still have that kind of. We had something. We had a weird connection back there. And then, same as Ty Yorick was so important to this book, just in general for the High Republic, I love how much Reed Silas has grown from Into the Dark, being this little kid that just wanted to be in the temple reading books and the archives, to now being so important to the whole storyline. And also, even though Vernestra, again, plot armor, because she's in the Acolyte, she was still instrumental, and it brought back that she's the one that had the coordinates given to her by Mari Santeca 20 books ago, whenever it was. Still part of the story without, because if you put her in that main mission that I thought she was going to be, then there's no stakes because we know nothing's going to happen to her. So she was still part of it without having to kind of be into it and not really be instrumental in it. But let me see. Anything else with the Nameless? I'm glad that we have a backstory for them. I'm glad it's not just yeah, we took out the planet and that was bad because don't do that. No, this is their planet, they're part of it. They're instrumental how the whole ecosystem works. And
Yeah.
They're important. There's smart creatures out there.
They are. Like, I think I'd kind of underestimated
Mm,
how important, and I guess how sentient the Nameless were. Like,
yeah,
I sort of had the impression as soon as we started seeing them that with the rod that Marchion has, that they're
yeah,
being mistreated. Their animals
sure.
being mistreated and they're lashing out.
Mhm.
And that's what I thought. But the instrumental role they play in keeping the galaxy intact, I way underestimated how
Yeah,
important they were. Like, I think they gradually present that to you with the whole, like, the fact that we go to Planet X in phase 2
mm,
is really
yeah,
important. This whole talk of balance and like, what do the Nameless have to do with all of this? I knew they were going to play a role, but I don't think I'd
yeah,
anticipated the scale.
yeah. It's great. It's awesome. And
Fantastic.
I love when Elsa and Avar get to that central place, which I guess is kind of the balance between the light and dark on that planet. And one of the Shrikarai, I'm gonna say, kind
Hmm.
of tells them, "Are you here to kill us also?" Like, dude, you've killed everyone. Are you here to kill us? And they're no, no, no. We're trying to figure out what to do here. But
The Nameless are just so resigned. They're like, you know
all
what?
right, you're here,
On
I
a rough
guess.
few years.
Let's get this over with. So some of the other stories we talked a little bit already about Reef, Aslin, and Tayoric. Aslin Rail for me was kind of the wild card because I'm like, why are you taking this guy with you? But again, it makes sense. I mean, he's the one that knew more about the Nameless. You have that connection to Phase Two, and then of course it was important to how everything kind of came together. Um, I was a little bit mad with Reed Silas when Tayoric was about to kill Aslin. I'm like, yeah, just kill this guy. I'm sick of him. And then I think he pulls out the shield. It's a great phase two callback. I guess
Yeah,
I'm glad he didn't get killed as we needed him. But
agreed.
Porter Engle and General
Angle.
Vias. I love that Porter Engle has just been toying with this guy for 200 years, just because it's the only connection he had to Barrage. And then he's like, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. Boop, dead because I'm so better than you. I'm like, oh, you could have done that any day.
That's what I thought was so funny. And I will say that was the one bit of this book where I'm like, this had to happen now.
Yeah. It was something because after I think Temptation of the Force is the last time that I remember seeing the two of them kind of going at it. And then
Yeah.
we don't hear anything. I'm like, okay, they just forgot about this huge battle that's been going on for a century. And then
I forgot
no,
about it.
oh, okay, I know she's dead. You're just lying to me that she's alive. And I'm the blade of Bardota, so I'm just gonna kill you very easy. Clap, clap, boop, dead. Oh, okay, I guess you are as good as they say. But
It almost felt, I know it's very emotionally fraught for him, but
yeah,
it almost felt like comic relief a little bit.
yeah,
Like this lighter kind of
hmm
long held battle that nobody but the two of them cares about happening while the galaxy is falling apart. They're settling their 200-year-old beef while the galaxy is just crumbling.
Elsa and Ava are holding things by a thread, so the galaxy doesn't fall into a pit. And let's just
It's
go
like,
at it
but
one
my
more time.
sister.
You bastard. Yeah, it's a little bit of comic relief, but I guess it works with the character of Porter. It's been set
Yeah,
up with this
100%.
great swordsman, but yeah, everything. Oh, VS, she has this, no Mandalorian, this, whatever armor, can't be penetrated by lightsabers. That doesn't matter. She's dead. So we had the battle on Eriadul. We didn't talk about it too much. This is, of course, happening more in the comic side,
Mhm.
but I love that Peek and Josh Allen are still a thing in Star Wars. Not that they're together, but they keep showing up in the story, same as the crew of the vessel when you least
Mhm.
expect them. Oh yeah, there's Geo just hanging out in the bar. Yeah, here's Josh Allen just drinking, and he's just gonna start a galactic battle because he didn't like the. Talking about, no, it
I
wasn't comic relief, but hey, you're gonna let those people talk to you that way, basically, to the bartender. Yeah, let's just start a world war right now. Like, okay, let's do it. Of
I
course, it
got
was
so
Josh.
invested in Pika and Joss in the Insider short story.
Okay.
Um, I really just enjoy them as characters. So having them pop up here, because where the story left off before I got my copy of Trials was maybe at the worst possible place for these two. So I didn't know if they were going to be okay. And then I got the book and they're fine. Brilliant. Like the stories I haven't read to the end. I don't actually know if they're all out yet. I don't remember. But I'm glad they're both okay because I'm just very invested in.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we have these Jedi in the book whose purpose is to defend the galaxy, and from childhood they know that they have this greater calling. And then there's people like Pika and Joss who are just trying to do their jobs, go home, spend their paycheck at the like cantina, have a baby, like they're just looking to just have a normal life.
Yeah.
And things keep happening around them. So I appreciate that as like a counterpoint to the rest of the plot.
And it's, again, one of the great things that this whole High Republic initiative has done is introducing those characters that are not Jedi, not Nile. They're part of the story. They'll pop up here and there, but gives us that connection to the regular people out there. And that's why me and Oti kept joking of, it'll be the power of friendship that's going to save everyone. That maybe wasn't the power of friendship that defeated Marchion. But yes, Josh and Pika and Geo and the other guys, it's helping out here and there. That kind of connects us to what the regular folks are going through. And it makes great kind of counterbalance, like you said, a good counterpoint to the Jedi having to deal with everything. So
it's not the power of friendship.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Someone that doesn't have the power of friendship anymore is Gira Staros. She thought she was controlling Marchion. She thought she could turn into a regular politician and show him how things work in the galaxy. That didn't work out, but she is a great politician as much as we hate her. And as soon as the wall fell, she's like, okay, we're surrendering. Here are my terms. Don't kill me. Don't put me in prison. I think I can help out a little. She gets the Trade Federation and the banking clan and everyone else to help her stay away from jail. She's giving out now secrets everywhere. And she's still out there, probably a senator again or something. Gotta hate her, but man, I'm looking at a post of her right now. She knows what she's doing. I hate her every time she's
a fantastic politician.
Oh yeah.
She definitely can't read her boyfriend at all. But
not the best mom either.
No, not the best mom either. I do think that's very interesting though, that she is so good at like understanding, hundreds of people and so good at understanding how to control the narrative for hundreds of people. It's what makes her such a good politician. But the two closest relationships in her life, her daughter and Marchion, she has a terrible handle on.
Yeah.
Like Avon's not actually dead, but she tells her she's dead because she would rather fake her death than deal with her mother. And then just her complete inability to read Marchion's personality is hysterical.
Yeah. It's so, oh man, this character is one that I thought was gonna die halfway through phase 1 or something, and she keeps plugging on, and you think, oh yeah, she's having a relationship with Marchion Ro. Then Marchion goes to make some weird force experiments with the Blight halfway through phase 3. She's the one kind of really ruling over the Nile and figuring out things, thinking that she has some kind of control over him, like you said. Well, no, she has no idea what his intentions are. But she's smart. She's like, I'll help bring the planets back into the Republic, all the ones that were kept behind the occlusion zone. I'll help with the reintroduction. Just don't put me in jail. I'll be fine. Her daughter got a different name now. She's Sunveil because she doesn't want to be Staros. But she's there. And I'm sure if we get more stories in the High Republic, she'll be part of it. And I think we need it. We need I'm
positive.
Sorry?
No, I'm just positive we'll get more from her.
Oh, yeah. We need a slimy politician out there. It's part of what makes Star Wars fun. And she's one. But I'm surprised that in terms of death, we only got one with Torvin Buck, unfortunately. But he went out like a boss, saving everyone. Arkov lost a leg, wrangling a Nameless, which I guess for a Wookiee, that's the best way to go. When he's still
Yeah,
alive, you know, he has a prosthetic. Uh,
this is the best option at wrangling a Nameless too, is to get a
yeah.
Wookiee involved.
um, I love the introduction of the armors. These armors infused with the gems that they got from, again, 3 books ago, and how great, how much, I guess, all the authors and the editors that worked on 20 something books were able to bring something from a lot of them. And again, that makes sense. It's not like, let's just throw this out there because we mentioned it on phase 2 or whatever. No, it makes complete sense that we spend most of that book trying to figure out how the Nameless work or the Blight. And I will use that into this armor. And the Jedi have an armorer, which is something I never thought about. They have this master armorer that just makes things down there.
It really goes to show, like, we talked about what's necessary to read for the High Republic, but if you choose to read all of it, there's truly no filler.
Oh yeah,
all of it is serving some purpose. Sometimes it's a bigger purpose than, like, say, the next thing, but all of it serves a purpose in the story. And I think the armor and how it's made and what it's used with is a really good example of that. It feels like that was just a side story, but it wound up playing such a big part.
It wasn't. Yeah. That book is so great. Tears of the Nameless. For anyone out there that skips YA books, don't skip YA books. I think some of my favorite stories in the High Republic have been the YA books, and Tears of the Nameless, I think, is coming into Charles of the Jedi. If you only could read 2 books, for me, it's Light of the Jedi, because you need to know how it started, and then Tears of the Nameless, so you know how it's going into Trials and why the Blight and the Nameless are important. Those 2 are for myself, the top 2. But
this is why I say you need to read the adult and the YA, because the adult is the plot, the YA is the heart.
Yeah.
Like the emotional through line. So much of it, not all of it, because we did talk about, like, you know, the Avar and Elzar stuff and the Marchion stuff, that's all in the adult books. But so much of the heart of these books and so much of the younger character stuff is in the YA. Like you like you said, you can't skip it.
Yeah. Some of the best. I mean, my favorite is still Into the Dark and Into the Light is so great also. Read those books, people. So if there were anything missing that I hope we got more with, was basically Lina So. We got a little bit with her at the beginning. Again, she's one that's in an impossible position. So dark that she's in the Senate chamber with all the planets, and then they turn black every time one gets affected by the Blight. I was this close to believing she was gonna give Marchion the okay to help save the Republic, so I'm glad that she still is a badass and decided not to. I wish we got it more with her, but I understand that this book had to figure some bigger things, which was stopping Marchion and stopping the Blight. So I understand, like we said it from the beginning, it's difficult to cover every point for 200 pages. I just hope or wish that we got a little bit more with her, but I guess what we got was fine. Did you miss not seeing so much of Lina So, or are you okay with it?
I think I'm okay with it because, like you said, there was only so much we could focus on, but the image of her alone in the Senate chamber with the drapes on the planets that have fallen to the occlusion zone is such a chilling visual image. And I think this came out right about, like, after Andor ended, but very close to Andor, and like the image of, like, Mon Mothma in the Senate chamber was so prevalent that it kind of, like, the 2 images go together so well.
I think it was didn't drop on the same day, because this book came out on Tuesday. I think it was the same finale day that Andor, that June 11th.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because I think I remember everyone, including myself, posted, how are we going to survive today with the end of the High Republic and the end of Andor on the same day? But
it came out a month before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But still, it was really close.
Yeah, maybe it was at the beginning of Andor. Doesn't matter. It still hit as hard. And Lorna D, which again, she's been focused more on the books. I mean, on the comic side. Again, Tempest Breaker is her final confrontation with Marchion. And I love that this book, Marchion still had these scars of when she bit her neck trying to kill him. And she was this close a couple of times. I just love, that's one thing I miss in phase 3 was the Lorna D and Marchion Ro
Yeah.
relationship, because it was so great having those two together. So when we got a little bit of in Tempest Breaker, it was great. I wish we got a little bit more. And again, I know her story now has kind of gone somewhere else. It's not focused on him. But I just love the two of them together. Lorna D, a great character, a great villain that was introduced at the beginning. Again, just
And
gotta love
that's
that.
who I miss in
Yeah,
this book is Lorna D. Because she's in the comics and she's got a great arc in the comics, but I kind of miss being in her head.
yeah.
Because even with Tempest Breaker, we follow her, but it's not really her. Well, I don't know how much of her POV we got before. But I still like you said, I miss seeing her with Marchion and the way they bounce off of each other.
If there was one thing that I wish they didn't change, and I'm gonna mess up if I don't remember the names now, but I know we went in phase 1, we had the Tempest Runners, and I love having those 3 Tempest Runners trying to be right under Marchion and all the backstabbing between those groups. And then for phase 3, change to the ministers, right? The minister of science, the minister of politics, or whatever Kira Saros was. Kind of like the Tempest Runners more, just because it was just a mess inside the Now. But I guess it would have worked with the way that now we're at this point. Like everyone's, I don't know. Anyway,
it's kind of weird like Marchion's position a little bit, because I also sort of preferred the chaos of the Tempest Runners, but then it changes because Gira comes and she sets up this like political setup rather than this rogue band of mercenaries. And then you lose all of the mercenary stuff. So when you're missing it, you're kind of seeing things through Marchion's eyes because she's come and made all these changes.
Yeah, and I guess you need it. If you want to have this whole arc, even from inside the Now, you need to. Again, I'll keep saying Michael Sigler and everyone that worked in this book, it wasn't just, let's just focus on 2 characters. Let's say Elzar and Avar, we'll do the whole trilogy or the whole phases, focus on them. No, like every character that we meet, go through everything. And now, even that now went through a whole phase or a whole arc, the planets, the creatures, like everyone got enough to be considered a full arc, and not just, let's focus on these 2 major characters and everyone else is just kind of flavoring. Not everyone had a purpose. Like, and same as the books, like you mentioned, it's nothing's filler. Everything's had a purpose going into the finale. And yeah, I'm just glad and happy that it's ended, but I'm excited for what's to come.
Yes, I agree.
All right, I think that kind of brings an end to our discussion on Charles Soule the Jedi. Anything else you want to add, Arezou, I might have left out?
Can't think of anything.
Didn't talk too much about the interlude. We're introduced to this family that's trying to escape the blight. I mentioned at the beginning, I wasn't too invested in it. Not because it was not written well, just because I just wanted to focus on the main story.
Yeah.
The more it came up, I'm like, they'll be fine. They're not going to die. They're going to figure out what's going on. But honestly, the more it kept going on, I'm like, maybe they are going to die. Because we're led to believe that the parents died. And then they're trying to make it to the spaceport, but then it failed. And I'm like, maybe no one's going to make it out. But it's showing you how important it is what the Jedi and everyone else is doing, that the blight is still an issue. It's not just under the temple with Yoda and everyone else trying to hold it back. When you don't have 12 Jedi Masters, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It's big stakes out there. So even though it wasn't my favorite, it's because I was invested in the other sections of the book. But it's chilling to know that thousands of people died right there as we're trying to save the galaxy. This is still happening.
Yeah, it was chilling is a good word. I think it was hard to read.
Yeah.
The interlude, especially because I think after the first one, once we got into the second one, I'm like, they're not going to make it. Or the Jedi are going to fix things just a beat too late, and it's going to be see the loss of the conflict. But then they did make it, thankfully. So
yeah, and it's again, unfortunately, it comes at a time that real world you're seeing things similar to this. Unfortunately, things that happen in Gaza and in Palestine, you can't read that and not make that connection. Even if you want to keep it away, it's impossible not to. Same as when you're watching Andor, things are happening there that happen in real world. You can't, as much as we try not to, you can't separate the two. So as I'm reading those chapters, like it's rough, like you say, it's difficult to read because in the back of your head you're thinking about what's actually happening outside our doors, and
Like
it's
I
difficult.
don't. If I open my phone right now and look at the news, I'm not going to see anybody in gem infused armor wrestling with a giant
Hmm.
force dog,
Yeah,
but I will see imagery like that. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So that's what makes it so hard.
yeah. It's one of those things that love Star Wars, and I love that they're not told always to change what they've committed to, because it was very, I'm sure these books have been, and the ideas for them have been kind of simmering for a while. They know what they're going to write, and knowing how things in the real world happen, that they didn't go back, hey, change that because it's too similar to what's happening in the real world. And Andor specifically is like,
Mm.
no, let's keep it. And it's called Star Wars. Everyone wants to have the discussion if it's really political. It's like, it's no denying it now. So
Maybe people will learn something.
yeah, we hope.
We can only hope.
All right, with that, we'll bring an end to our show today. Arezou, as always, it's a pleasure when you're here. It's always great because you enlighten me a lot
I
of
always
times.
enjoy coming on. It's always
Yeah,
a good time.
it's fun to talk about these weird Star Wars that we love. We'll have you back soon. I want at some point do a whole show just covering the whole High Republic, everything that
Yeah.
happened. We'll get a couple of people in, but I'll reach you back out for that. For everyone out there, where can they find you? You have big news coming a couple of days, so hopefully people can follow you and see what's happening.
So for said big news, any of my social platforms are good. So at Arezou Amin on Twitter, same on Blue Sky, and then Arezou D2 on Threads and Instagram is the best place to find me.
All right, so make sure you follow ours on all those places. We'll have those down in the description of this video. We'll be back in a while. I don't know if we'll be back next week. Star Wars news has been a little bit slow. Actual news, I know there's a bunch of rumors out there. We're not gonna worry about those right now. And then it's the summer, so I'm gonna be taking some time off anyway. So maybe by August we'll be back, unless something big happens. But again, thank you to Arezou for being here. Thank you to Brennan. Thank you for Pepper Saber. Anyone else that might have been watching live that didn't get to the chat, thank you for being here. I'm trying to do my best with an outro now that StreamYard messed up my videos. But anyway, thank you to everyone for being here. I'm going to try this out. Stay safe, be safe, and remember, for light and life. See you next time.